We've got members of within our who've gone so far as to actually get some critical approvals that allow you to export. There's a farmer who's based in Gweru, whom we recently had a field day at his farm. He's doing peas for export, and he's managed to go to Europe, get a certification called Global Gap, which allows you to sell these products in your Tesco's, your retail chains in the first world, and that's the narrative that we want to filter into the youth agricultural market segment. Food is a business. Agriculture is a business, even if it's not food, and you need to understand it in terms of a business so that it changes your mindset around how you go about it. Um, that the common belief has always been unorima chibage chako, and then you've got for your consumption, and then you sell a few bags to the GMB, and that sort of it doesn't work that way. There are organizations like the African Development Bank which have singled out food as the one of the single most key growth sectors because of the population growth. It's an insight that is going to need to advise how we as farmers and we as policymakers look at the importance of food as a business. The global food industry is a $1 trillion business. Every human being has as a fundamental need, food. It's one of the biggest industries that you can speak of. The ironic thing is that most of the raw materials or the resources that come about that feed into are funded by governments and subsidized by governments, but large governments. And Africa has about 42% of the world's arable land. They're the next big thing in terms of productivity, because we fortunately haven't overutilized our land resource as much. But going back to what the contributor was saying, this is the time to actually, harness that potential and start moving on it. The bringing it back home. The unfortunate thing is that we need a realization on a large scale, which says, look, we have been in a lull for 2 decades. We need to acknowledge that there's certain things that we are expected to have that we don't have.
Sure.
That are standard requirements to secure capital. We're speaking here of collateral. If you haven't been making or creating wealth for 2 decades, and then you expect a symbol of or something that represents wealth as your primary source of collateral, we're talking title deeds, etc., then you're sort of creating a fallacy. You're demanding things that are not there. It's like expecting the dams to be filled up with water after a drought, and you're saying if you don't have water, then we can't give you X, Y, and Z. We need to change our mindset, and it's not a difficult thing to do. It just requires a bit of a nudge from the participants in the industry to say, look, guys, from an economic perspective, your catalyst for growth is capital injection. You certainly, we need to accept that we need to secure this collateral, this capital with sound financing models. But we're talking about farmers here. They need tractors, they need center pivots, they need irrigation equipment, they need tangible things that have value. Let's use those things as the collateral, okay, and not have a fixation with an asset that's unrelated to the production process. Once we start seeing things in simple terms like that and stop thinking as primarily bankers, but as business people who are trying to address a problem, instead of sitting on capital and saying no, but at least if the money is safe, you know then there's no we create a situation where it becomes a downward spiral.
Mm.
If industry doesn't grow, then also the banking sector doesn't grow, and
Yeah.
vice versa.
Sure.
So we need to engage and come to the table and say, yes, historically there's been a history that the banks have been burnt. There's been a history that people have been given inputs and have sold diesel, they have sold mbeu and so forth. But we need to change from that perspective, because we can't stay fixated in that state of mind forever. We need to start moving, and we need to start having conversations around how we help each